of self-managed learning. And then we also have to look into proposing ways in which lifelong learning and personal and the professional context should be encouraged. And then lastly, evaluate the benefits of self-managed learning to the individual and organization. Evaluate the benefits of self-managed learning to the individual and organization. So these are things that we need to look into in this learning outcome. Okay. All right. Now you have to look into LO1. LO1. LO. So LO1. So I'm going to LO1. Oh, LO1. Share LO. Okay. So in LO, I'm looking to personal development. And I did mention that we are looking at how we understand how self-managed learning can enhance lifelong development. The key things you have to look into first of all will be what then is self-managed learning. And in my explanation, self-managed learning is a development stage or process in which you as an adult take on your full responsibility of your own learning. So you do more of learning. In fact, in some universities, you can do what we call self-study. Self-study. You learn by yourself, you book the exams, and you go and write the exams. And that's what we call self-learning. Whereas lifelong learning involves voluntary or ongoing, your own self-motivated pursuit of knowledge for either your personal or professional reasons. It is important that for individuals' competitiveness and employability, but also enhances social inclusion, active citizenship, and personal development. Okay. Okay, so let's look into more on self-managed learning, SML. It was created by a professor called Professor Ian. Professor Ian. Professor Ian Cunningham in 1978. Drew on his experience of action learning and independent study. It also looked into underpinning Gregory Bateson's theory of levels of learning, brought the concept of learning to learn to the behavioral sciences. Okay? and then a structured approach to learning with two main elements: the learning agreement and the learning group. And then lastly, the agreement the agreement is between the students who undertakes to pursue their learning goals and the learning group who undertakes to support them in this. Very important. Okay. Very, very important. Very, very important. Are we here? Are we here? So
Yes, I'm here. I can hear you.
I want to hear from you, please. So let's say that. So at this stage, what do you understand by self-managed learning then?
Sorry. The self-managed learning is learning independently, um, like CPD, you know.
Mhm.
Then basically setting your own goals and tasks to like your achievement tasks and stuff like that, your goals, things like that, isn't it?
Okay, that's fine. So a more elaborate definition would be that it's a specific learning approach derived from elements of several other methods, including your self-development, self-learning, and your action learning. Self-development, self-learning, and your action learning. So action learning are derived from your self-learning, because in your self-learning, you set goals and you set up certain actions that you want to take towards your goals, where you have your vision and your mission. So in your action learning, you have to ensure that I would have to complete this course in the next 2 months. That should be your action towards your self-learning. Okay. Now it is an holistic approach to the individual and is underpinned by strong values. Of course, you need to have strong values to be able to do a self-determined self-learning approach towards your career. It is also a learning approach that mirrors the management process. Why? Because it focuses on individual responsibility for learning in a way that reflects the natural management process as opposed to being taught in an impressive, more traditional way. Okay, more traditional way. On individual responsibility for learning in a way that reflects the natural management process as opposed to being taught in an impressive, more traditional way. Okay, that's Valerie Garrow, 1998. Take note of these references. Valerie Garrow, 1998. I expect that you quote some of these references when you are answering your questions. Okay, so let's look at the theory and the background. Self-managed learning is not an unstructured approach, but it allows a lot of freedom to the student. Why? Because every student is required to create a learning agreement. Two, every learning group meeting is organized around the student's individual time slots. The choice of learning goals lies with the student, as does the choice of how they wish to use their individual time. The only restriction is that they do not have to have learning goals and do not have to use their individual time for learning relevant to their learning. Okay. The choice of learning goals lies with the student. Of course, it lies solely on the student. How you want to go about your methodology of your learning, it goes seriously on you. Okay. Self-managed learning process operates in different ways to that found typically in the school context. While the process supports students in pursuing their specific learning goals, the aim goes beyond those goals. Okay, while the process supports students in pursuing their specific learning goals, the aim goes beyond those goals. Many things we learn today will become obsolete tomorrow. Okay, so they will be needed for the tomorrow learning processes. The main aim is to help students become active learners, okay, not passive. So students to be more active rather than becoming passive, okay? Not just being passed on information and you become passive. But if you are more involved in your own self-learning, you are active. You're able to set up action goals, okay? All right. Within most school activity, the teacher takes the initiative in terms of what is to be learned during a particular lesson and how it is to be learned. By removing the need for students to initiate the what and how of their learning, this can engender a dependence on the teacher and a general passivity in relation to learning. In later life, learning is rarely provided on the basis, okay? So by removing the students to initiate what is what and how of learning, that this can engender a dependence on the teacher. Of course, so in self-learning, you are not relying on the traditional way of learning where the teacher was the one that decides what to be learned and what to be taught. However, in your own self-learning, you take control of what to learn and what to study at any particular time, which therefore becomes or makes you more active rather than being passive. Okay. What then are the main elements of the SML? The learning agreement comprises the student's answers to 5 questions, which provide a robust framework for good setting. Where have I been? Okay. Where am I now? Okay. Where do I want to get to? Very important. How will I get there? How will I know I have arrived? Okay. It's because measures by which success will be evaluated or too frequently missing from even corporate change initiatives. Okay. Then we have to look into the main elements of SML. Okay. The learning group. This comprises 6 students with an adult learning group advisor. The learning group advisor is not subject to experts. They are expertise in learning. Their role within the group is to ensure that the structure of the learning group meeting is adhered and that the focus on learning is maintained. That is the learning group. And the advisor is to what? Ensure that the learning meetings are adhered. Let's look at the body of learning group meeting is where each student has their own individual time. They are the focus of the group's attention. They are able to decide how they will use their time. They will be reporting activities undertaken towards one or more of their goals and the next steps they are contemplating. Okay. Lastly, the other members will be questioning them on what they have done, what went well, what didn't, how they might approach the matter differently, and what they have learned from their experiences. Okay. In consideration these next steps, they could then find themselves challenged by the group if it is felt that they are ignoring either potential problems or potential opportunities. Okay, very important. So you in the group, each individual has a learning time, and there will be important activities undertaken towards one or more of the goals, and the next steps they are contemplating. They are focused of the group's attention. Okay, and we say in considering those steps, they could find themselves challenged by the group if it is felt that they are ignoring their potential problems or potential opportunities. Okay. This is so first thing is the group advisor. The second is the body of the learning group meeting. The body where it means that your learning time, the structure, you have to the activities that are involved. And members will be questioning them on what they have done, what went well, what didn't. So it is a more group kind of just like a project work, the group of members in the group, the project assignment. Okay. Then let's look at self-managed learning. Encourage a student not only dependent, but also both thought and action, but also independence. Okay, interdependence. The ability to work with others and to draw on their experiences, knowledge, perspectives, assistance, and intent to contribute this themselves to their fellow groups and members. Most students find their learning group a supportive environment, even while it is where they are most likely to be challenged about how they are thinking about or going about achieving their goals, their behavior in the group. During an SML program, a learning group may, prompted by a student learning groups, go out to visit a workplace or higher education establishment. Alternatively, an exemplar of a particular profession or ability may be invited into the learning group meeting to be interviewed by a student wanting to gain insight into a work experience which is known to them. Okay, so in self-learning group, professionals can be invited so that students can question them and get more informed knowledge about the expertise out in the public domain. Okay, this is what it seeks to achieve. Okay, and all you're trying to do is that you work with others to achieve experiences, knowledge, perspectives, and assistance, and intend to contribute to this themselves to the fellow group members. Most students find their learning in a supporting environment, even while it is where they're most likely to be challenged. Okay. In the program, you will be prompted by student learning goals, go to visit a workplace. Of course, those are what we call placements. We call them placements. Okay. So let's look at 1.1, evaluate approach to self-managed learning. Evaluate approaches to self-managed learning. While self-managed learning is a process where learning is encouraged and knowledge is gained through one's efforts, there are various approaches. One of those approaches is that the person may study, analyze, and research the sources like articles, online internet portals, websites, journals, etc., to gather information and data in the subjects. Okay, but not only on the website as source of information on the internet, but social networking sites are also great resource for updating and development of the self-learning. Secondly, okay, source of data you can use. Then we have secondly, the person can learn from secondment. Okay, secondment where person can learn from secondment where you second someone or you learn under someone. Okay, you learn under someone. That's what I mean by secondment. Then you can gather more information and more experience. This means that the employee working for an organization changes his roles, profiles, and the functionality to gain insight and knowledge on various aspects of the different functions and organizations. Sigel and Donny 1978. Please take note of that. The various ways in brief for gather knowledge.
Sorry, you said take note of
the references.
Okay, yeah. The references, of course. Thank you.
Take note of that. Okay. Take note of that. You will need them when you are answering your questions. The various ways in brief for gather knowledge or to gather knowledge and enhance self-learning are mentioned below. 1, attending various seminars and conferences. Yes, of course, we know about that. You gather information for conferences to gain your personal and professional levels. When a person attends them, is able to know and gather data and information on various aspects. Of course, for instance, if you have a questionnaire and you attend conferences, you can gather more information and get direct answers from expertise who attend those conferences. Internet sources, we've spoken about internet. The internet is an unlimited source of information. You can gather most information from internet, but make sure that you reference them wherever you gather, quote them, okay? Active participation on social networking sites. Of course, you can decide to join social network via Facebook and other organizations. For instance, if you want to know about marketing, there are marketing groups. If you want to know about networking groups like Any other, there are groups all over on the internet that you can join to gather information and gather expertise as well from that. Okay. Then let's look at how to understand those self-learning. So self-management learning involves learning styles, approaches, effective learning, lifelong learning, we've spoken about it, and assessment of learning. Okay. Where self-initiation and self-learning process clearly at the first stage, you are able to clear your goal setting, aims, and requirements. Then you can identify your personal orientation and achievement of goals. Lastly, dates for achievement. And then lastly, your self-reflection. Having able to outline all this breathing. The last is your self-reflection. Reflection to ensure that your clear goals are meeting your target learning, self-managed learning goals. Okay. Then the learning styles, you can decide to go by the Kolbe's learning scale, where it talks about experimental learning processes, or you can choose where the learning style club KSC, where it talks about activists, the pragmatists, sureties, reflector, and reflective modernization theory. So you can either use any of the learning style that you can decide to research and refer to them, either the Kolbe's learning style or the LPC KSC model style. Okay. Activists immerse themselves fully in new experiences. Who are they? They enjoy here and now. They are open-minded, enthusiastic, flexible. They act first, consider consequences later. They seek to center activity around themselves. So these are what we call activists. But then who is a pragmatist? Somebody who can plan. A pragmatist, somebody who's keen to put ideas, theories, and technologies into practice. A pragmatist is somebody who searches new ideas and experiments. A pragmatist is somebody who acts quickly and confidently on ideas, gets straight to the point. And then lastly, someone who is impatient with endless discussion. Who is impatient with endless discussion. Very key. Okay. Now who's a theorist? They think thorough problems in a logical manner, value rationality and objectivity. They assimilate disparate fast into coherent theories. Their discipline aim to fit things in rational order. They are keen on basic assumptions, principles, theories, and models. Okay. And who is a reflector? Who then is a reflector? Who then is a reflector? Who then is a reflector? A reflector is somebody that stands back and observe. Somebody who is cautious, take a back seat. Somebody who collect and analyze data about experience and events. Slow down to reach conclusions. Somebody who uses information from past, present, immediate observations to maintain big picture perspective. Very important. So we just have to look at the David Kolbe's learning style model and experimental learning theory, ELT, because you mentioned them. The Kolbe's model works on two levels, and it's a four-stage cycle. The concrete experience, the reflective observation, the abstract conceptualizing, and the active experimentation. Okay, very important. And the fourth type of adaptation of learning styles, each presenting the combination of two preferred styles, other like a 2x2 matrix or four-stage cycle styles, are illustrated below. Okay, so you have the diverging, the assimilating, the converging, and the accommodating. Okay, Kolbe's use diverging, assimilating, converging, and accommodating. These Kolbe learning style models is indicated. So we have the accommodating search, the active, diverging, the converging, and assimilation, where in between accommodation and converging, we have the acting experimental doing. In between diverging and assimilating, you have the reflective observation, or you have the concrete experience, or the abstract conceptualization. Okay. Okay. Dave Cope's learning style model and experimental learning theory. I've explained that there are four versions of that. Okay, the active or the divergent. Cope refers to this as accommodating, diverging, assimilating, or converging. And those are the four things you have to know about Cope's learning models. Okay. The other learning models identified by Peter Honey and Alan Mosford. You can do research about them as well. Or I'll send you some few details on the WhatsApp group once I finish the lecture. Peter Honey and Alan Mosford. Okay. Read about that. They also have a learning where the approaches may be learning through research, learning from others, mentoring and coaching, seminars, conference, secondments, interviews, use of the internet, social network, and use of bulletin boards. Okay. Effective learning, therefore, involves skills, personal assessment, planning, organization, and evaluation. Okay. Where lifelong learning involves self-directed learning. Self-directed learning. Continuing professional development. Linking higher education industry. Further education. Recognizing of prior learning. Apprenticeships and credit accumulation and transfer schemes. Okay. Recognition of prior learning, apprenticeships, credit accumulation, and transfer of schemes. Very important. Okay. Now let's look at assessment of learning. Assessment of learning, therefore, would involve improved ability to range with personal learning, the evidence of your improved level of skills, feedback from others, and learning achievement and disappointments. Okay. What were you able to achieve? What were your disappointments? So you can learn from it and then you could work on your learning skills. Okay. We therefore have to look at the proposed ways in which lifelong learning in personal and personal context could be encouraged. One, lifelong learning refers to a process whereby throughout the life, a person consistently approaches and gathers information and learning. Two, the assessment on personal and professional goals could be done on the basis of SWOT analysis. Okay. I've always mentioned SWOT and very key. This means a person needs to check and jot down strengths, weakness, threats, and opportunities. Very important. Okay. This could help the individual in knowing the various areas which have to be worked out and converted into strengths. Okay. And lastly, after all, the various opportunities that could be converted into action plan would also be fully developed. We sometimes do not know the person, know that even after we reach the old age, then also we need to study or sit about the good people. We tend to learn new areas and skills. Okay. We tend to learn new areas of skills. And SWOT analysis would help you to achieve that. This is termed as lifelong learning. It depends on whether what we get from others, we tend to acquire it on your daily basis. And West 1997, another reference that you have to take note. West 1997. You need to look at what's the full name of the West, or what book or what research can we do. West 1997. You refer to go on the internet and Google West 1997 on long life learning. Okay. SWOT analysis. We all know about SWOT analysis. Okay. Don't we? Hello? Hello?
Yes, you did SWOT
Okay.
analysis, I know.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So let's look at learning through self-reflection. Learning through self-reflection. Okay. Learning that is pursued throughout your lifetime could be either flexible, could be diverse. That is diverse where it looks like different learning approaches. Or it could be available at different times or in different places. Okay. You may be learning distance learning, maybe different countries and all that. Okay. Where crosses sectors may include promoting learning beyond traditional schooling or throughout adult life. Okay. So We mentioned that learning can be at different times, different places. It could be flexible, it could be diverse. However, the cross-section could be promoting learning beyond traditional schooling or throughout your adult life, okay? Pillars of education then will be learning to know, learning to do, learning to live with others, and learning to be, okay? Pillars of education, learning to know, learning to do, learning to live with others, and learning to be, okay? You have to take note of that. Pillars of education. Let's call it the LL, the four L's of education. Okay. Well, learning to know is mastering your learning tools. Learning to do, equipping people for the types of work needed to know. Learning to live with others, peacefully resolving conflicts, discovering other people, their cultures, fostering community. Learning to be, education, contributing to a person's complete development, mind and body, intelligence, sensitivity, and all that. Those are what we call learning to be. Okay. Why lifelong learning? Why? Why would you have to want to learn all your life? Why? Learning is too important to be left for schools and universities. The responsibility for learning throughout life and from life lies with the individual. And that's true. Lifelong learning is sustainable learning. Okay? It relies on self-directed individual initiatives rather than handling down of knowledge from experts or a central authority. Okay, important things to note. Okay, why life learning? The term life learning was first used 30 years ago by Edgar Farrell in his seminal work, Learning to Be, adopted by UNESCO as a blueprint for universal education. Very important, learning to be. Of course, we always learn to be, don't we? The concept was intended to embody the need for democracy, equal opportunity, and individual self-fulfillment, which would only be possible if the tools for learning were available to all and not restricted to a privileged elite. Not only should learning be lifelong, it should also be life-wide. Wow. Learning should not be lifelong, but it should be life-wide. Learning cannot be confined to formal education institutions, but rather it is seen to take place in a wide variety of settings, including workplace, social, and recreational contexts. Very, very great explanation. Learning is not only that, it's also life-wide. Who is a lifelong learner? Strongly aware of the relationship between learning and a real life, has the necessary confidence and learning skills. A lifelong learner is someone who is highly motivated to engage in the process, recognizes the need for lifelong learning. Okay. And how then do we encourage lifelong learning? How do we encourage it? Stress student activity and task performances, opportunities for meaningful personal interaction, opportunities for collaborative team learning, assessment to be more authentic, provide constructive feedback, include elements of peer and self-assessment. Okay, include element of peer. So we have what we call peer review. Peer review is when you have done a research or a project work or whatever. One of your colleagues can be used to critique what you have done. It's called peer review, to review what you have done. It is important. It helps towards long life learning. Okay. Okay. Students encouraged to reflect on the way they learn. They are encouraged to interrogate and information of skills, recognize individual differences among learners. Learning tasks should be challenging but achievable for the learners involved. Control of educational goals and decision needs to be shared. Okay? It needs to be shared. Then we have evaluate the benefits of self-managed learning to the individual. Teamwork. Teamwork. Effective communication. Okay. The skills that are acquired when individual is teamwork. Through self-learning, personal and professional development takes place. So teamwork. Presentation. The person who gains the information, data, knowledge in certain key areas is able to present himself well, is able to portray himself easily and Gordon 2023. When self-managed individual works in an organization, is able to apply his skills and attributes to gain business strategy and volumes and profitability for the company. This way, he is not able to develop himself again skills on personal front, but these skills are also help on professional front and working on it. So in self-study or in self-learning, you don't only build your skills, but it also long-term helps the organization as well. Okay. And below are the references that you have to look into. ScoreVet 2000 lifelong learning, national applying. And we have there's so many references that you can pick from the lecture. So many references that you can get from the lecture. Okay. But say that, do you have anything to say?
It's good to learn.
Come again.
No, I don't. I said it's good to learn.
Why? It's good to
We're
learn.
learning about learning, isn't it?
Exactly.
All right.
So if you have nothing to say, then I can bring the meeting to an end, can't we?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I'll send you some few things on the group, okay?
Yes. Is it
All right,
possible for me to get the YouTube link so I can listen in again?
for this lecture.
Yeah, they
You
just
get
drop
it
it on website. It's so easy.
on WhatsApp, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask the admin team to do that, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.